Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a whole bunch of gardening updates. And first of all, I wanted to update you on what's going on at the seed starting station. I also have a beautiful witch hazel blooming outside, so we're gonna head out at some point. And then I have to start some winter sowing. So let me just get started. All right, so this is what's going on at the seed starting station. The watercress is looking amazing. I have some arugula, some sage, some mint that I got at the grocery store. It's growing quite nicely. I have some marjoram. The succulents are looking good. Have some of the dwarf tomatoes. Remember the ones that I was talking about in the vegetable seed video? Here they are. They're looking amazing. So healthy. Now this right here is kind of a fail, but not really. I was expecting it because it is Lisianthus and they are very difficult to grow. So look at that. I only got 2 to germinate out of all of these cells, but they have true leaves already. They're so tiny. Oh my goodness. I mean, everything they say about Lisianthus is true. They are difficult. Right here I have some cilantro, some dill. And I use these herbs every single day in cooking. It is just so great to have herbs right on hand. And Michael just keeps asking me why the food tastes so fresh, because it is right from here. And remember the violas that I started in the video a couple of weeks ago? Here they are. The germination is a little patchy, but that's okay. Some of them already have true leaves. And what I'm going to do next, actually, I'm going to bump these tomatoes up in the next size pot. I'm going to take them in the plant room and show you how I do it. All right, let's replant these babies into bigger pots, and I have the pots right here. I think this is the right size pot because these are dwarf tomatoes and they only grow up to 9 inches tall, so about this tall. And I think this will be plenty of space and soil for them to grow and produce fruit, hopefully. I also wrote all of the names right on the pot because I want to save on labels, to use the labels for something else later. Before I start, I want to mention that I washed and disinfected all of these pots because I reuse as many of the garden pots as possible. But what happened to me once is that I did not wash them and I had a terrible infestation of whiteflies and aphids, which I think came from dirty pots. And unfortunately, I had to throw away all of my seeds that I was starting that year. So be very careful. Make sure that you wash all of your pots to avoid any infestation, any insect problems. Also this year, I'm going to perform an experiment of a sort. I'm going to try a peat-free potting mix. So I got some potting mix from peat moss, P-I-T-T moss, and apparently it is made out of recycled newspaper and cardboard. And it does look like newspaper a little bit. I can even see some letters somewhere in there. And I'm just curious to see how these plants are going to perform because I have no experience with peat-free potting mixes. And I know we're probably not going to be 100% peat-free in our gardening, but I try to move away from peat as much as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plant half of these tomatoes in a regular potting mix and half of them in this peat-free. First of all, I'm going to pre-moisten this mix here a little bit. Again, I don't have any experience with this, so I don't quite know how it's going to react. Oh, it needs a little bit more water. And I like to pre-moisten my potting mixes. This is just so much better for the plants. I think this is the right consistency. So basically, I like the consistency where I can make a shape out of the potting mix, but it doesn't drain. You see, I'm squeezing it and then it doesn't drip. It drips a little bit, but not too bad. Okay, now that I have all of my pots filled with soil, what I'm going to do is take one of these little guys, make sure that the variety matches. This is orange hat, this is orange hat, great. As you can see, I actually have 4 little tomatoes in this little container here. By the way, look how great they look. They're nice and stocky, they're low to the ground, they're not stretching, and all of that is thanks to the proper amount of light and good air circulation. So this is what you want your seedlings to look like. And what I do next is I like to use chopsticks to get these guys out of this container. And before you do that, you actually make sure that you water these little guys. And actually, you know what? I think I can do it this way. There you go. A nice and healthy root system right here. And then I'll separate it in two. And then I'll separate these two guys again. And tomatoes are actually quite forgiving as for transplanting like this. Other plants may be more root sensitive. Definitely read up on the seed packet. Sometimes it will say root sensitive, direct sow only. And then I make a hole in the pot. And there is your new plant. Look how cute. I'm going to give some of these tomatoes to my friends because I think I ended up having too many. I think like 15. Nobody needs so many dwarf tomatoes, but I think it will be nice to give some away. So I have these really cute pots like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and plant one in here. That's such an adorable gift in the winter. Here they are in the new pots, and the next step is to water them. That's very important because their root systems have been disturbed and they're very sensitive right now and prone to drying out. So make sure that you water them a little bit extra. And after I finish watering, we can go and check out the witch hazel outside. Here's the beautiful witch hazel amethyst. And witch hazels are such wonderful trees to have in the garden. They have a beautiful structure. They have gorgeous fall color. And they're also slow to medium growing, and if you have a smaller garden, you can still incorporate one in your space. And then they bloom when nothing else blooms, like right now with these beautiful flowers. These are kind of purple, magenta. They're slightly scented. They come in other colors like orange, yellowish. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to discuss right now. First of all, when you're selecting a cultivar for yourself, check if the leaves are persistent in the winter. As it turns out, amethyst has persistent leaves like these right here, so they stay on the plant after the fall, and I actually have to take them off so I can see the beautiful flowers. So that's kind of a little bit of a downside of this plant. Also, right over here, I did not notice it until the winter. Do you see this branch right here? Do you see how different it is from the main plant? Like the color is different. So when I'm going down all the way to the rootstock, so this plant is actually grafted, and the rootstock is right below the graft, and this is a sucker of the rootstock starting to grow. And look at that. It even has different color flowers. See that they're yellowish as opposed to this purplish color. So the danger of suckers on your rootstock is that they're so vigorous a lot of times that they can take over the main plant, the cultivar that you're trying to grow. So it's very important to kind of catch that and cut them off right away. So I'm actually going to do that today. Okay, I'm going to hold the camera in one hand and try to cut this off with another. These are the pruners I had on hand. There you go. Okay, all done. So I checked all around for any more growth of suckers, and there's nothing. So it's all done. All right, let's talk about winter sowing. A lot of people start winter sowing in January, but I found very little difference between starting seeds winter sowing method in the beginning of January versus now. Now, that's only if you are talking about regular annual seeds that don't need any stratification. Now, if your seeds need stratification, like a lot of perennial seeds like delphinium or echinaceas, need to go through a natural chill process for them to germinate. Those seeds do benefit from starting as early in the winter as possible. So I actually have some delphiniums and some native plants that I already started a month ago. So they are going through that natural chilling process right now. Now today I've started some just regular annuals. I actually have some more that I need to sow. So I'm actually, as I'm doing that, I'm going to talk to you about my experience with winter sowing, as I have been doing that for a couple of years now. So first I wanted to talk about the potting mix that I use for my winter sowing method and also seed starting in general. Now the best one I found so far is Jiffy's seed starting mix. And this does contain peat. And I know I was talking in the beginning of this video about going as peat-free as possible, but the product that I showed you before, I only found recently, and hopefully everything works out and it works great on seedlings and plants, and I can use it from now on. But so far, this is the best mix I found in my experience to be the most successful with seeds, because it is very fluffy, it is very airy, it's great for seeds, and I've tried so many different potting mixes over the years. In fact, I tried just a regular potting mix once for my winter sowing because someone suggested it, and it was a complete fail. I think only 10% of my plants germinated. So it is very important to have a very airy, very light mix for your seeds because those little plants, they need a lot of air for their roots. They're babies and they need a little bit of extra care. So this one is definitely the best I found so far. The next thing I wanted to talk about is how many seeds to put in each bottle. And I tend to always overseed and be very heavy-handed with my seed. But what I found is that fewer seeds is better, because this way your plants have a lot of room to grow. And when you open those bottles in the spring, they are ready to be transplanted. They're very healthy. They have a lot of foliage. If you overseed, they're very crowded. They're very hard to separate. So I'm trying to be very light-handed this time. And this is alyssum, by the way. This is tall white. Alyssum is the very first winter sowing plant that I have blooming for me every single year. In fact, they start blooming right in the bottles. And when I open them and I start to separate them, they're pretty much, it's like shopping for free in a nursery. You have ready plants and many of them. Actually, let me show you what I'm sowing in these bottles right now. So the first one, as I told you, alyssum tall white. This is Gypsophila white cloud. This is an experiment. I've never started Gypsophila winter sowing method, but someone mentioned that in my flower seed video that they did, and they were very successful. So I'm going to try that as well. This is Shades of Blue stock, and I love the scent of these plants. It's just so fragrant. And this dreamy double champagne hollyhock. And for the hollyhock, speaking of not overseeding, I'm only going to do 4 seeds per bottle, because otherwise they get so big, because these plants are large plants, and they crowd each other out. There you go. Forgot to mention, it's always important to pre-moisten your soil before you put it in the bottles. Now, after your seeds are in, all you do is tape up the bottles. You know what, on this one, I forgot to take the cap off. The cap can disappear at this point because the water and the snow will come in and water your plants from now on. You don't have to do that. Also, it's important to have drainage holes in these, and sometimes it's kind of hard to make holes in these bottles because the plastic is so thin. So what I do is I heat up a screwdriver and I poke the holes with hot screwdriver. So much easier. All right, we're all done here. Let's go ahead and put these bottles outside. Come here, baby. Come, come, come. Okay, I have a couple more updates. I have this new batch of hyacinths blooming right here. I don't know the name of them, but the color is just so beautiful. And I took out more hyacinths out of our refrigerator. I actually planted them in these bins because it was more comfortable to put them in a lower drawer, because real estate is obviously an issue in our fridge right now. And I was able to fit 20 bulbs in a bin like this, and I can replant them in whatever decorative pot I need right now. And I also took out the tulips that I've been forcing. So the tulips will bloom in about 3 weeks, and the hyacinths will bloom in about a couple of weeks because the tulips take much longer to bloom. And also check out these crocuses. This container has about 50, and I also planted some grass with them, so it looks like they're growing in this meadow. And I also took out some more amaryllis from the basement that I've been growing, and I have another wave of amaryllis coming soon. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out with me. And I actually have a question for you. My busy season is coming up right now. I will have a lot of design work, but I wanted to ask you if you would be interested in seeing a design process from the beginning to hopefully installation. And design process is a lot of drawing, a lot of computer rendering. So I'm not sure if this is something you will be interested in. Yeah, let me know in the comments below, because I am not sure if you're interested in it. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. I hope you learned something new in this video, and I will see you in the next one.